For the rest of us, it's more a question of we need to change the way we support. And that's what we need to do. Princess and has always been known for her unfiltered honesty. And over the years she's made some telling comments about Queen Camilla that might give you pause. All the people who had helped Camilla get the crown on her head were excluded from this coronation. Did she want to warn us? What did in seeing Camilla that raised her concerns? 15th Will warning. Did you know that Princess and allegedly tried to talk sense into her brother, King Charles, during his marriage to Diana? Yes. She warned him directly not to get too close to Camilla, and not only interfered, she recognized the writing on the wall. She knew the risks of King Charles playing both sides, married to his beloved Diana while maintaining his connection to Camilla. This is of course a bad image, especially for someone who is in line to the throne, and wasn't just worried about family drama, either. She knew that the British tabloids were just waiting for the first scandal and that Charles's actions seemed like a catastrophe to them. Imagine the consequences if the public found out what was really going on. Princess and feared that it would not only break Diana's heart, but also leave the entire royal image in tatters. And guess what? Charles didn't listen to him. Anne's warnings were ignored, and we all know how that turned out. The scandal became much bigger than anyone imagined, and the monarchy suffered a blow that is still talked about today. A bit of "I told you so" from and wouldn't have been out of place. 14. Early disapproval from day one. Princess and made it abundantly clear. She was not a fan of King Charles and Camilla's relationship and did not sugarcoat her feelings. Anne, who only cared about her duty and the image of the monarchy, saw from afar that trouble was brewing. Her problem wasn't just family loyalty or personal grudges. She had the big picture in mind, and knew how the public perceived the royal family. They weren't just figureheads. They were expected to lead by example. Therefore, in her eyes, Charles cozying up to a married woman, especially one with a complicated past, was a total no-go. She believed that this kind of scandal could shake the moral pedestal of the royals. And let's face it, when you're in the spotlight as often as she is, public opinion can make the difference between success and failure. Anne, ever the realist, thought Camilla's involvement would do more harm than good, especially at a time when the monarchy could not afford another controversy. Looks like she was right about that. Number 13. Concerns about public image, and wasn't wrong when she said the monarchy's image was fragile. A case in point is Diana's famous Panorama interview in 1995, in which she publicly addressed Charles's affair with Camilla. Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded. Diana's brutal honesty about her feelings of betrayal and her comment, "There were 3 of us in this marriage," shattered the royal family's fairy tale illusion. The interview attracted worldwide attention and turned public sentiment against Charles and, by extension, Camilla. Princess and understood that this was not just gossip, but a fundamental change in how people viewed the monarchy. Today, the consequences of these revelations are still being felt. Even after years of careful image cultivation, Camilla's road to public acceptance has been rocky, and critics continue to compare her to Diana. Anne's fears of alienating the British public, particularly those who adored Diana, proved shockingly accurate. It is clear that Anne did not just play the role of family skeptic. She had a keen understanding of how actions behind palace walls can impact the world and have lasting consequences. Number 12. The influence on Diana. Princess Anne wasn't particularly close to Diana, but that didn't stop her from being very worried about how Charles's relationship with Camilla would affect the Princess of Wales. Adored by millions, Diana was under unimaginable pressure from both the media and her role within the royal family. Anne, always practical, realized that Diana's emotional struggles could develop into something much bigger. And she wasn't wrong. One of the most notable examples of this was in 1992 when Diana's biography, Diana, Her True Story, was published. The book exposed the cracks in her marriage to Charles, detailing her mental health struggles, her feelings of betrayal and her eating disorder, which was exacerbated by Charles's ongoing relationship with Camilla. It painted a heartbreaking picture of Diana's life behind palace walls and made her a global symbol of heartbreak and resilience. The revelations shocked the royal family and made headlines around the world, and reportedly feared that Diana's vulnerability would make her an easy target for media exploitation. And that's exactly what happened. The press not only focused on Diana's pain, but turned her personal turmoil into a soap opera. with public sympathy on her side and anger directed at Charles and against the monarchy. Anne's concerns also concerned the future of the monarchy. Diana's growing popularity, coupled with her problems, presented the royals with a unique problem. How could they maintain their authority and dignity while one of their most popular members was publicly portrayed as a victim of royal indifference? Number 11. Questioning Camilla's loyalty. Princess Anne never held back when it came to loyalty, and Camilla wasn't exactly winning her over, and had spent her entire life scrutinizing and facing the relentless demands of her royal duties. When it came to Camilla, and reportedly questioned whether she had what it took to withstand the scrutiny, sacrifice and responsibility that comes with being a member of the royal family, and Anne's concerns were not unfounded. One topic was Camilla's past with Charles when she was still married to Andrew Parker Bowles. This wasn't just royal gossip. It was a fact that made headlines and fueled the impression of betrayal. Anne, who valued discretion and discipline above all else, reportedly saw this as a warning sign. If Camilla had been involved in such a controversial situation before, could she be trusted to protect the monarchy's image in the future? Anne's suspicions were confirmed by moments like the backlash against Camilla in the late 1990s. Public opinion of her was icy at best, and many Britons blamed her for the breakdown of Charles and Diana's marriage, and reportedly worried that Camilla's past actions were not just a personal matter, but were a potential burden for the entire family. Public trust in the monarchy was already fragile, and Anne did not want Camilla's past to cause further damage. A telling moment that reflected Anne's doubts was her seemingly distant relationship with Camilla in the years after Diana's death. Although Anne never openly attacked her, insiders have noted that their interactions were formal at best. For someone as direct as Anne, that says a lot. Number 10. The too early warning. After the tragic death of Princess Diana in the year 1997, the world was in mourning and public opinion was firmly on Diana's side. During this emotionally charged time, Princess Anne reportedly stepped in and gave her brother, King Charles, some important advice. Don't rush into anything with Camilla. Anne, always sensitive to public opinion, warned that pushing Camilla into the spotlight too quickly could be seen as insensitive and out of touch with reality. And didn't just speculate. She had a clear sense of how deeply Diana's death had affected the British public. Polls at the time showed overwhelming loyalty to Diana, with many blaming Charles and Camilla for her misfortune, and feared that the introduction of Camilla so soon after Diana's death would come as a slap in the face to those still mourning the people's princess. Your warning was justified. When Charles and Camilla's relationship became more and more public in the early 2000s, the backlash was fierce. Royal events at which Camilla appeared were often overshadowed by Diana's memory. Thus, the Queen reportedly declined to attend the wedding of Charles and Camilla in 2005, a decision that was widely interpreted as a sign of ongoing public unease. Looking back, it's hard to deny that her cautious approach may have spared the family some of the turmoil that followed. Finally, time was a crucial factor in changing public opinion, albeit slowly, in Camilla's favor. Anne's insight was spot on. In matters of the heart and in matters of public perception, timing really is everything. Princess Anne had spent her entire life balancing the fine line between private life and public duties. So when it came to Camilla, she had serious concerns about how well she would cope with the royal spotlight. Camilla may have been charming and popular in certain private circles, but taking on the public role of royalty was another matter entirely, and Anne knew that all too well. The British press had never been known for its gentleness, and had already seen firsthand how brutal it could be. An important example? The relentless scrutiny Diana was subjected to, especially after her separation from Charles. From her fashion choices to her emotional struggles, nothing was off limits, and reportedly feared that Camilla, who had largely withdrawn from the public eye until then, would not be able to cope with the media hype. Anne, she had a point. When Camilla began appearing more frequently in public with Charles in the late 1990s and early 2000s, the comparisons to Diana were inevitable and often brutal. Headlines called Diana a saint and Camilla a villain, with public opinion tilted heavily against them. Anne, who has faced media storms herself, probably saw this coming and wondered whether Camilla could withstand the relentless judgment. Number 8. The confidence factor. Princess and reportedly saw signs early on that Camilla's presence could complicate the already delicate relationship between King Charles and his sons Prince William and Prince Harry. A clear example of these tensions emerged in 2005 when Charles and Camilla announced their engagement. Reports from the time suggested that while the brothers publicly supported their father, the situation behind the scenes was far more complicated. Prince Harry in particular is said to have expressed concerns about how his mother's memory would be preserved within the family dynamic when Camilla officially entered their lives. She was the villain. She was the third person in the marriage. She had to restore her image. Another telling moment occurred during the documentary on Charles's 60th birthday in the year 2008. While William and Harry shared anecdotes about their father, their comments about Camilla were noticeably reserved. Both avoided delving too deeply into their roles in the family, reflecting the difficult balancing act they performed between supporting their father and honoring their late mother's memory. Anne's fears were rooted not just in her loyalty to Diana, but in a practical understanding of family dynamics. There was a deeper truth in their warnings. While Camilla's presence was important to Charles, it also had to be managed carefully to avoid alienating his sons, a concern that would arise again and again in the years that followed. Number 7. The battle for public opinion. A key example of public resistance to Camilla occurred during the Queen's Golden Jubilee celebrations in 2022. While the event was intended to mark Queen Elizabeth's 50 years ascension to the throne, it also highlighted the ongoing tension surrounding Camilla's public image. Despite her growing presence in Charles's life, Camilla was conspicuously absent from key public appearances during the anniversary, suggesting the royal family was still not convinced the public would accept her. Another moment that highlighted Anne's concerns was the public reaction to Camilla's inclusion in Charles's official royal duties. For example, during a royal tour of Scotland in 2004, Charles and Camilla appeared together at a public event, but their reception was lukewarm at best. The crowds were smaller than expected, and the press noted that much of the attention was still focused on Diana's legacy rather than Charles and Camilla's future. Anne's worries about public perception were not just theoretical. They had their origins in moments like these, when Camilla's integration into royal life revealed the ongoing gap between private acceptance within the family and public resistance outside the palace walls. Number 6. Image crisis. Princess Anne's concerns about Camilla were not unfounded. She had already seen how the media could spiral out of control and damage the reputation of the royal family. Take, for example, the media frenzy that arose in 1993 following the leaked Camilla Gate tapes. The confidential phone call between Charles and Camilla became the subject of tabloid press around the world and further cemented Camilla's reputation as a controversial figure. The tapes didn't just concern Charles. They portrayed the entire royal family as embroiled in a scandal that overshadowed their public duties. Anne, with her pragmatic attitude, probably saw these events as a warning of the chaos that Camilla's return could bring. Their fears were not unfounded. In the years after Camilla began appearing in public with Charles, headlines often revisited past controversies. The media often compared Camilla unfavorably to Diana, keeping the narrative of betrayal alive. For Anne, these moments were not just about bad press. They also represented a distraction from the work of the monarchy and a threat to its stability. Number 5. Tensions in the royal family. The monarchy thrives on unity, and reportedly feared that Camilla's growing role could destabilize already delicate relationships within the royal circle. And let's face it, when a family's dynamics are as public as theirs, even the smallest rifts can become major problems. Family tensions arose in the early 2000s when Charles began taking Camilla with him to more formal royal events. Reports emerged that Queen Elizabeth II herself wasn't entirely on board with the idea of Camilla becoming part of the royal family. It is even said that the Queen initially refused to meet her. And then there's the well-documented awkwardness between Camilla and Prince Philip. Philip, who was known for his strong opinions, is said to have been less than thrilled by Camilla's increasing notoriety. Not only were these frictions personal, they also had a real impact on the family's ability to present a united front in public, which was a key concern for Anne. Anne's relationship with Camilla herself was reportedly distant for years. Although Anne remained polite, their interactions were described as formal and reserved, reflecting Anne's skepticism about Camilla's role. Anne's ability to anticipate these challenges was not only insightful but spot on. Number 4. Be careful or get married. When King Charles and Camilla's wedding became a real possibility, Princess Anne didn't hold back her concerns. The public reaction to the announcement of Charles and Camilla's wedding in 2055 was a stark example of the controversy that Anne had anticipated. While there was some support, a significant proportion of the British public expressed disapproval. The quiet nature of their wedding, a civil ceremony rather than a large church event, spoke volumes about the royal family's cautious approach. One moment that showed this tension was when Queen Elizabeth II reportedly skipped the wedding ceremony and only attended the blessing that followed. While the Queen's absence was attributed to her role as head of the Church of England, which frowns on remarriage after divorce, it underlined the complicated feelings surrounding the event. And wanted to avoid exactly this scenario. Family decisions divided public opinion and cast a shadow over the integrity of the institution. Anne's caution was not intended to deny Charles his happiness. She was concerned with preserving the future of the monarchy. Number 3. The image of the heir to the throne. Princess Anne reportedly gave some of her sternest advice when it came to King Charles's image as a future monarch. For Anne, the public perception of the royal family was closely linked to their moral authority. After all, a monarchy without public trust is not a real monarchy, and probably had examples from history in mind. Consider the abdication crisis of 1936, when Edward VIII's decision to marry the divorced Wallis Simpson forced him to resign as king. The scandal not only damaged Edward's reputation, it also shook the monarchy to its foundations and raised questions about its meaning and future. Even before Charles married Camilla, his image as heir to the throne was tarnished. A moment that highlighted Anne's fears was Charles and Camilla's official appearance as a couple at the Ritz Hotel in the year 1999. Although the event was intended to mark a turning point, it was met with mixed reactions. Tabloids criticized the couple for their perceived insensitivity and claimed that it was too soon after Diana's death. For Anne, such incidents highlighted the growing gap between Charles's personal choices and the public's expectations of the future king. Secondly, the monarch's reputation is at stake. Princess Anne's concerns for Camilla went beyond scandal. They were rooted in the fragile image of the monarchy. Diana's legacy as a compassionate modern queen was still ever present, making Camilla's integration even more difficult, and also saw risks on a global scale. Commonwealth countries such as Australia and Jamaica were already debating the relevance of the monarchy, and Camilla's controversial reputation could fuel Republican movements. First, tangled relationships. The royal family's relationships have always been complicated, but few relationships have been as tangled as those between Princess Anne, Camilla, Charles and Andrew Parker Bowles. Long before Camilla became an integral part of Charles's life, she was linked to Andrew Parker Bowles, a man who also happened to be romantically involved with Princess Anne in the early 1970s. And Andrew's relationship was reportedly short-lived due to royal protocol, as Andrew, a Catholic, was not considered a suitable partner for the Queen's daughter. This romantic past added another layer of tension when Camilla and Andrew finally married in 1973, and Charles was already in the picture as Camilla's suitor. An unpleasant, convoluted story emerged that Anne probably hadn't forgotten when Camilla returned to royal life as Charles's partner. Anne's concerns about Camilla were rooted not only in her brother's relationship, but also in her own experiences with Camilla's social environment. Having once been part of the same world, Anne may have questioned whether Camilla, who handled several high-profile relationships with ease, was a reliable addition to the royal family. One thing that may have increased Anne's distrust was the awkward dynamic at family events, which Andrew Parker Bowles continued to attend even after Camilla's relationship with Charles became public. Andrew remained close to the royal family and attended events such as Charles's wedding to Camilla in 2005. For Anne, the love triangle was not only a personal story, but also a warning. She had seen firsthand the potential for messy complications and was likely worried about how these unresolved tensions might affect the family's reputation. Do you think Princess Anne's concerns about Camilla were justified? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to know more.